Today's episode is sponsored by Sparks Magazine, whose most recent issue is the Combustion Volume 7 series and is available on middlemanrecords.bandcamp.com. It's everything you love about music fanzines, including interviews, scene reports, reviews, band spotlights, and even a compilation CD snuggled right in the pages. Follow Sparks Magazine on Instagram at SPARXMEGAZINE and get in touch if you'd like to be a contributor in future issues. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine, where you can go to sign up and support the show, get music sneak peeks, read zines, and so much more. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Crossroads by Scenario, featuring my new pal Ben on guitar and sometimes vocals. You can find the song, as well as many others, at scenariopunk.bandcamp.com.
Things really started off super early for me, at least I would think. As my oldest memories that I can recall, music was always there. And I decided I wanted to play guitar when I was like, I think 5. And I think I took lessons for like a year or something like that. And then it was like, I was 5 or 6 and it was like, oh, my fingers hurt. I can't keep doing this kind of thing. But, it was really around that time that, I knew it was like, I remember seeing like old videos on like VH1 and stuff. My dad always had VH1 playing at the house, and seeing old videos like Smashing Pumpkins, Alice in Chains, just like all the stuff from, those mid 90s years. And like, that was all I wanted to do, was I wanted to listen to and play music. And I knew that was kind of something just clicked in me, that it was like, this is what you're here for, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's funny too when you say VH1, because like there definitely was that point where like MTV like pretty much wasn't playing music anymore, and like VH1 was like, it's like, wait, how is all the like alternative music from the 90s on VH1 now? And it's like,
exactly,
like, because VH1 was like Celine Dion and everything, like, when MTV was Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana, like VH1 was, Whitney Houston and Michael Bolton and whatnot, and then MTV just kind of stopped playing music. Just it became a reality TV station, and then it was just like the next thing you know, it was like Goo Goo Dolls and stuff on VH1, which is like, I mean, it's weird thinking that the Goo Goo Dolls were like an alternative band. Like that's weird to think of now because like everyone's mom loves them and like, it's like the music that you would like expect the people on The View to listen to or something. But I mean, it was
Hey,
at the
Johnny
time.
Resnick is the man.
Yeah. I'm not. Is that the main singer?
Yeah, he's the
Oh,
lead singer
okay,
of Goo Goo
okay,
Dolls. Yeah.
yeah. Because there's always a point in on every Goo Goo's album where maybe it's like the other guitar player or it's the bass player like will do vocals on a song and it's like, wow, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like,
believe it was the bass player. They were a three-piece, I think. I'm pretty sure.
oh,
I've
okay.
got all kinds of weird, like the VH1 playing in the background at all times is a huge thing, like throughout my life, because I'll still like walk into a Taco Bell and be like, "Is this a Paula Abdul song?" And it is, and I only know that because of VH1 being on all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And my yeah, like I certainly like I grew up on like Headbangers Ball and MTV 120 Minutes. I grew up on that stuff, and then I hit a point where like a lot of people do, where it was like you get um you get into that stage where you're like gatekeepy ish, because you're like 17 and you like everyone sucks, and like you're
Yeah.
especially so you get into that stage where you're like gatekeepy about stuff and you're like all this corporate stuff, like you reject anything that is like moderately successful, and so like there would enter like it's like I I would I would just like obsess over all these cassettes and all these other details, just like whatever. But I would later like sort of go back to some of that stuff that like from like that I wrote off or dismissed, and Goo Goo Dolls was kind of one of them, and I ended up getting like cassettes of their stuff for like $1 or something at a resale shop, and it's like I don't know what happened, but like whereas if I got those cassettes when I was a teenager, I would have immediately cracked open the lyrics and known everybody's name. Like I don't know, I'm not necessarily like that with something that like has I've been familiar with this for 30 something years already. Like, I don't, that's
Oh
a,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's a weird thing. Like, right. About like the way you kind of, something like tangentially for so long that you have this sense of intimacy with it, even though you know so very little about it. Whereas like
Right. Right.
when you're younger and you just become obsessed with a band, then like everything. I don't know.
Yeah, you're just devouring all the information that you possibly can.
Yeah, I wonder. How many? I wonder how many like instances there are of like stuff that I'm like I may know like all the lyrics to this song or a bunch of songs, and I'm just like no, but then I can tell you like all 17 people who've been in Descendants or whatever, like it's like I don't know. But yeah, so you were taking lessons at 5. Um I don't I don't know that like I'm sure that for some people that's a great age to take guitar lessons or whatever, but like I think about like we were just talking earlier about like kids and stuff. I think of my kids at 5 and there's no way that would have,
Oh yeah.
clicked for them either. But did you kind of just did you like just go back to just sort of like you had a guitar around and you played it on and off, or was it until way later when you like would come back to it more seriously?
So with that, it was like I took the lessons for like a year, and like I said, I'm 5 years old, and it's like my fingers are not in the shape to continuously play all the time. So, as a child, it's like, oh wow, this hurts. I don't know if I want to do this all the time. So I actually put down the guitar for some years, and I became a drummer later on in like elementary school, and was like formally trained and all that, and captain of the drum line, all that fun stuff. And then I think I maybe picked up the guitar again, probably around 10. And ever since then, I've been all self taught. I attempt to get into the weeds of like formal teaching and like knowing what I'm actually doing, but it never really seems to stick. And I feel like I don't know. I never actually know what I'm playing, but I know what I'm supposed to play. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, there's like more than a few of my friends like over the years like here and there like have been involved in different stages of their learning or whatever. And one of my friends, like, she's like incredible, probably the best person that I've ever watched like play guitar, like, um, and no matter like how simply people try to put some of that stuff, it's just I am a different kind of like I just can't my brain just doesn't process like sort of the math of it,
Oh yeah,
you know?
like you kind of get that glazed over on your
Yeah,
eyes, and it's just like,
yeah,
yeah, that's how I am too.
yeah. And I'm like, but yeah, but when you play, when someone's playing something and you start playing and it's wrong, you just know it's wrong. I don't
Oh yeah,
like that's how I've always sort of worked. And then sometimes when someone's playing something and you play something that is wrong, sometimes that's kind of fucking cool too. So like,
yeah, yeah. That's how
so
the best stuff is made. A lot of
yeah,
times, I feel like.
yeah. Sometimes you just kind of like, and I, I don't know if like an instance of that would be like somebody who knows how all this stuff works, theory, etc. I don't know if they'd be like, no, actually, like that works too. That just works because of this, or whatever. Like, I'm sure there's like other explanations, but it's just like, yeah, when somebody starts talking about like, there's that that band right now that like everybody's going bonkers over with the polka dots all over them or whatever, and everybody's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, the French Canadian thing.
yeah, and they're like I forget what they called it. They were like, this is like this all these songs
The
are,
microtonal.
yeah, yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I just knew it sounded strange and that was cool. I didn't like I get that like I'm hearing something different. I don't like it's cool to know like what that's called, but like I didn't I don't know, you know what I mean? I didn't need to understand that it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's not what, we're used to. But yeah, so what like did you feel like drums just came more naturally to you, or was it just like, hey, this is getting me the same sort of like satisfaction, but it's not like I don't feel like my fingers are going to fall off?
A little bit of both. I've kind of been most of my life I've kind of been able to just kind of pick up in musical instruments and just kind of inherently uh have a feel for what it's supposed to be. It became like that once I did pick up the guitar again when I got a little bit older, but like with drums it was just like I it felt right. Like I remember having teachers when I was that age, and there was so little they had to do of that first initial like finding the beat, the rhythm of the thing, staying on time. Like for some reason or whatever it is, I just was able to do that. Uh, so I mean, it's just been kind of a running thread throughout my musical quote unquote career is I just am able to kind of just figure it out very quickly.
Yeah. What else have you sort of dabbled in? Like, what other have you just like become a sort of like I'm gonna buy a trumpet just to have around and fool around with? Because that's how I
I
am.
wish.
Yeah.
I wish I had gone that far in the exploration, but it was stuff like being in like band class in like middle school, and I remember we had a day where the teacher had us all like switch instruments around or whatever it was, and I think it was a trumpet, and it was just like I remember him being just like, oh wow, like you actually like can do this, like. And it's just like, oh yeah, I guess. Like I don't know like the fingerings or whatever that I'm supposed to play for specific notes, but I can get the sound out at a good sound and kind of figure out what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it was just kind of that kind of thing. And then I was mainly a drummer for a while. Like I said, I had picked up the guitar again, but it was just like kind of just you hear stuff on the radio or on CDs or whatever it is, and kind of pick away and try to figure things out. And I was mostly a drummer up until I think I was 14. I was playing drums in a ska punk band for a while when I was that young, playing at different gigs around Cincinnati and stuff like that. So that was a fun little time in my life.
Yeah. Well, were you the youngest person in the band, or was everybody in the band around that same age? Was it like a
Oh no, I've usually been consistently the youngest person around. Up until I guess now in scenario, I'm not the youngest person, which so that's a first. But yeah, I've always been the youngest. It's always been at least people at least a grade or two older than me, if not more, a little bit more than that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But yeah, I mean, it was like as a 14-year-old going to like the dive bar venues when I was that age and playing shows and like kind of have like, well, he's okay because he's playing, but
Mhm.
they had to make sure like the staff and everything was like aware, like oh, like okay, he's fine.
Yeah. What was what were the bands? What were the ska punk bands that your band was influenced by? I'm trying to like, it was this like a we love like the classic stuff, like, or was it like y'all were like less than Jake rules? Like, what kind of ska punk was this?
Uh, you know, I think back then the biggest stuff in that band was like, of course, like No Effects, like So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, like is an incredible ska punk album if you want to call it that.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I did.
that Propagandy, uh, even with like the ska sucks stuff, we love that kind of stuff. And then a huge thing was Streetlight Manifesto's first album. Uh, that was like almost like a life changing record when that came out. When I heard it, I remember listening to that album every day for, I mean, at least a couple months, like on the way to school and on the way back from school, and just like how are all these guys so talented and doing this like and it fit together so perfectly. I think they're kind of like, in my opinion, the beacon of what like ska punk could be.
Yeah, I know that I've heard them, but I can't say that I've like actively sought out like ska punk in you know a very long time. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, it is funny. Like, I haven't listened to a No Effects album since Punk and Drublick. Like, I I'll be honest, as embarrassing as it might be or whatever, I was a really big fan of No Effects when there was Ribbed and White Trash
Yeah.
and even like The Longest Line and stuff. But then I just felt like, you know, I just felt like just, and this is
Did it
like, I'll say it
did it get too
again,
powerful
like, I
for you?
am aware that I'm in a screamo band, but I just felt like they just kept making the same album over and over.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean,
like,
yeah, notoriously.
once it got to Punk and Drublick, I was just like, this doesn't. And also, like, you know, um, there was something about like the way that things were getting recorded around this specific time, like in that era of like Fat Records and Epitaph and stuff, where like it was like when guitar players first started using like rack mounted effects instead of like, their like natural amp distortions and stuff. A-
Yeah,
And all the guitars just started sounding so toothless to me,
yeah,
and
it got very like homogenized.
yeah, and so I was
Yeah,
just like, yeah, I'm cool with their older stuff. But like, that being said, like it when you said ska punk, like no effects, I was like that for a minute. I was like, wait, that does, and then I'm like, oh yeah, because they did have like
yeah,
a lot of that in there, and I just don't, I suppose they kept that up, and yeah, I don't know, it's funny to think about, but yeah, very true. Like they're, you know, probably as far as like all the Warped Tour bands and stuff, other than, I don't know, like wasn't like, is that band Goldfinger, weren't they like ska? Like, so there were,
oh yeah, yeah,
and obviously
Superman.
Mighty Boss Tones, there were bands that got bigger, but like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
Oh, and the Boston's is also another huge one. Those guys, I'm still. I mean, Live at the Middle East is, I think, one of the best live records that's ever been put out. Like the energy that you can get just from listening to that thing is incredible.
I think, yeah, I'm, leaving the vocalists, like, you know,
Yeah,
politics
his
aside,
yeah,
because
yeah,
like this is all like, I, I think that you can't really, like, you can say I don't want to listen to it, and I get that, I understand that, but like I feel like when I was listening to it, like he wasn't like that. You know what I mean? So like,
no, I think that was a product of the times kind
yeah,
of
yeah, and so
thing.
like it's funny to me because like my favorite album of theirs like has almost no ska on it. It's Devil's Night Out. It's like pretty much
Yeah,
just a punk album, and it's like
yep.
incredible. Has like their best song. I mean, it's definitely got ska, but their best song, Patricia, like that song's incredible.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, I don't know. It was weird. Like I'd be talking about them, and no one's ever heard this album. Like you couldn't find this album online forever. It was like it didn't exist because it wasn't like from the height of their popularity
yeah.
onwards. You know what I mean?
It was pre. What was the name of that record that had the impression that I get?
Um,
Yeah, I can't even think of the name of it now. But it was pre that. It was very very pre that. I mean, that
yeah,
was, I would say that that big hit came almost like, I don't even know how many years into their career. At least 10.
yeah. We saw them play once, and a friend of mine had Dickie sign a pair of plaid Doc Martens. Like okay, but no, they were,
That is fantastic.
yeah, that's I think that's where I got that cassette at that show. But I still have the cassette. I still play the cassette. I don't. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time remembering what that other album is called as well. It's like I want to say it's like
I
some.
could probably tell you every Boss Tones album except for that one,
Yeah,
which is funny.
it's like I feel like it's like something, the answers or something like that. But I don't
They
know.
had Question the Answers, which is an incredible
Oh,
album, but
okay,
it's not that album.
okay, it was a different one. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but yeah, so you were playing out from a young age, and like you certainly like, a lot of times, when you're a teenager and you think, okay, I'm going to be in a band, like you immediately think that it's going to be this or it's going to be that, but you sort of jumped over all that, and you're like right in the like,
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
yeah, you're like, I'm
it
playing the
was.
shitty dive bars like right now. I get it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, that was that. Those were the places that were available to play.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
it was
was,
house shows, and then yeah, stuff like that.
and so like, was it still everything? You're like, yeah, this is exactly what I was like signed up for. Like, this is everything. Like, and you were just like, I'm gonna keep doing this.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of, like, the not just sitting in your room and tinkering around. It was tangible. It was something to do. It was something you could say you've done.
Mm-hmm. And you're writing your own songs and stuff, or
Yeah, we were doing originals back then. I think the only cover we ever played is we used to play a really fast cover of Creedence Clearwater Revival's "Fortunate Son."
okay. Um, were was this band like a band where you would end up doing like recordings and stuff, or was that always just like a thing that never quite happened?
We started to right at the tail end of when I was in that band. We had started doing some like home recording stuff, and we had no idea what we were doing. We were just trying stuff out. But I can't even remember exactly. I think we were just recording to cassette through maybe like it might have been like an 8-track mixer or something like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was at the very tail end of when I was in that band where that stuff kind of started to come up. Um, and I think some of those recordings ended up seeing some life back in the MySpace days.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think that had been after I had left that band.
Yeah. Were were you all like as a group sort of like were you like going online and trying to figure out like how do we do this, or was it like more one person was like I think we might be able to do this and you went from there, or what was the like how did you all get like, even though it doesn't sound like it was incredibly organized, how did you start that process?
I think that came from June, our vocalist and guitarist. I think he was 3 years older than I was. So I was 14, he was 17. And he had begun to, entrench himself in kind of like the more DIY kind of stuff. And he was probably the catalyst of doing like the online presence kind of stuff. But I was always very interested in like, I don't know. I've been interested in doing every aspect of being in a band is what I'm interested in. I'm not like a solely just play the music, just write the music. Kind of I like doing everything. So I was always kind of like peeking around at what he was doing and figuring out like the different avenues and the different people he was meeting and kind of just getting a feel for how that kind of stuff worked. And that was back in like that was like peak MySpace era, like not when like it was gigantic, but really when it started to like bloom as a social thing where like bands were on there and like you could like reach out and touch them kind of thing.
That was a really like different time, and whenever I sort of like get like some of the same things happen now, right? That happened in MySpace era, and now it feels different. Like like some of the like back in when MySpace, was a thing and the bands were first getting their stuff on MySpace and all this, like cuz because people were on there like socially for a while before bands sort of like came and became a part of the um, communities or whatever, like uh, and some of the same things happen now, right? Where like a band will send another band that they don't know, like their thing they just put online. They'll be like, "Hey, we notice like someone just did this to me on Instagram the other day. Hey, we noticed that you like these kinds of bands, and so maybe you will like our band." And like now you're like, "Ooh, don't do that. Like that feels like I don't like that, right?" But like that's
Yeah.
how it was. Like
Oh yeah,
in my
you were just grasping at straws.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like not I mean, not only like was that how it was, but like that's how I met people that I'm like still friends with. And it's wild how much the sort of the the online culture has changed as far as that goes. And like I get it because like online I mean, the internet is just like so scammy now. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
like you didn't used to necessarily feel that way. Like yeah, you knew better than like, the prince from Eastern Europe, who needs like,
yeah,
you knew
yeah,
better than that, but like every single thing wasn't a scam like it is now. And so now it's like,
yeah.
no matter what kind of message you get where you don't know that person, you're like, oh, I don't know,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a labyrinth of dark hallways, and it could be like you might see a light on at the end of that hallway, but before you get there, you might run into something. Kind of
yeah,
that kind of situation.
yeah. And I mean, I don't, yeah, it's, yeah, it's so weird now too, because you think about it realistically, it's like, you're just like, yeah, I mean, what's the harm, so you just like, so somebody sent you this link and you turn it on and either you like it or you don't like it and then you turn it off, or whatever. Like, so
Or your
what's,
computer gets the flu.
well, yeah, I mean, but I'm just talking about like a band that sends you a Bandcamp link, not like
Yeah.
not like the limeware, like,
Right. Right.
this is, the, I don't, what's the one that's like, I don't know. Every time I see the like LimeWare file
Yeah.
meme, it's always,
LimeWire.
yeah, LimeWire, right? It's always
Yeah.
like the same song that it's supposed to be too, and I can't remember what it was offhand, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's like the upside of being into mostly music that like society was ignorant to for so long, is that like when you went on Soulseek or whatever and you search for Kodan Armada, like you weren't going to get a virus because
Oh yeah.
nobody
The
nobody
chances of it were drastically reduced if
yeah,
no one
yeah,
else was going to
yeah,
put that on
yeah,
there.
exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like you definitely were like getting like your feet wet as far as like you're playing all these shows and stuff, and like you're you're making music like with people, and like you're doing uh your own thing as far as all that goes. um but talked about like you get sort of started on like doing your own recording and stuff like that. I'm sure that was exciting, even though like it doesn't sound like that ever really lined up at the time. But like, how long would it be until you were in a band where you were like doing your own recordings, and you get this like CD or this tape back or whatever, and it's got like your songs on it?
Oh, I mean, it was not long after that. I mean, when I left that band, uh, I think I maybe had a couple months, maybe 6 months, where I wasn't doing anything seriously musically, um, until I met this other group of guys, and they were starting a band. Well, I think they had kind of already started it. I think they were trying to feel things out or whatever, and the one guy playing guitar wasn't quite working out, and they knew that I played. I had never like been a guitarist in a band per se, but I played, and we just enjoyed hanging out with everybody. So it was like, well, yeah, how about you do this instead of the guy that's not working out anymore? And that band was Some Came Running with Jordan. That's also in Scenario, which I believe you guys are pretty well acquainted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was Jordan and Mike, who was also a former member of Scenario. Uh, and that was like our metalcore band that we started in high school. And I mean, that was really the tipping point as far as that kind of stuff goes. We recorded our demo with Joey Sturgis, who's like a huge name now, but we recorded our demo with him. I mean, back when he was still recording in a garage in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. It wasn't the big name Rise Records Joey Sturgis that he is today, but I mean that was like an experience in itself.
Yeah. What was the setup like?
Uh, back then, my memory's hazy. We
Sure.
were partaking in a lot of a lot of smoke,
It was like that.
and I remember and smoking cigarettes in that studio. I remember doing guitar tracks in there, and my eyes just burning because we were smoking cigarettes. Joey was smoking cigarettes. No windows were open. We're just in this like guest house garage kind of thing, and just being like, oh my god, I can't even see anything right now. How am I gonna play this?
You said that was in
But
Indiana?
yeah, that was he was. I can't even remember exactly what town it was,
Oh, okay.
but we had heard of him because Jordan was in a band called At Daggers Drawn, which is now called Sea of Treachery, and he had done their first album, and me and Mike had gone to high school with all those guys, so we had kind of, we knew each other for a long time. I mean, Alex, the singer of that band, I can't even. I remember when that band first started, which is funny too because the vocalist and guitarist for that ska punk band that I played drums in also played drums in the very, very first iteration of that At Daggers Drawn band. So it's weird. It's kind of like an incestuous thing. Like sharing members in that kind of town like was pretty common thing. But then Jordan ends up being in that band, and then that turns into our band. Some Came Running. It's
Yeah.
very, very convoluted kind of thing. But it was funny how it all kind of worked out, and it all just instantly lined up like that.
But you were all like tracking separately. It wasn't like a live. You were all like,
No. Back then, yeah, it was separately. We all did our tracks separately. I believe Joey even programmed the drums on that demo. I think we had initially planned to do live drums on there, but I can't even remember the exact thought process as to why we didn't. It might have honestly just been a time thing. I mean, we're like 15, 16 years old. We don't have a lot of money to burn up in the studio, so it's kind of like, well, Joey's pretty damn good at programming drums. We'll just do that, and it'll sound good. And it did. I mean, that recording, I still have it, and it holds up today, which is very surprising for it being what I think 2006.
yeah. So was that the first time that you like this is really the first time that you're recording, and so it would be the first time that you're going in there and you're playing these songs, but you're not like playing them with the whole band. So was that like a learning curve, or did you just practice so much like on your own that it was half natural?
It was a little bit of a couple different things. One, we played at my house, which is where we had band practice, and I mean, it was something that we did multiple times a week. So, I mean, we were pretty tight as a band, and then, recording and everything just kind of felt natural to me. I'm pretty sure I did my guitar tracks in like one take, and I mean, that was pretty. I mean, I remember feeling like so good about myself, like, oh man, this is the first time I've done this, and I just absolutely nailed it. Like I was on top of the world as a 15-year-old. Uh So yeah, it was a multi-track, separate everything, and I don't know, it felt very natural.
Yeah. And when all is said and done, what do you do with the tracks? It's straight on to, uh, you said this like 2006 or something. Like, is it straight on to, what happens with them at that point? Onto CD, and you're
Uh,
giving them out at
yeah,
shows? Yeah.
yeah. He gives us the final product on the CD. We make many copies of that CD, and yeah, go around playing at shows, hand those out, hand them out to friends. It wasn't like there. I mean, there was no cover art. There was no. It was just straight up. One of the silver CDRs. We
Mm-hmm.
write some came running demo on it, and here you go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Were y'all trying to? Were you doing like the high school trapper keeper thing where you try to draw like a logo on it, or it's just like, this is my handwriting, like,
Yeah, it was just straight
yeah,
handwriting.
yeah,
We
yeah.
we had friends that would do like little art things for us, like for the MySpace thing. Like remember, like we had friends that would draw like little logos or like just little artwork stuff for us for stuff like that. But when it came to the actual CDs and everything, like no, it's like we're just gonna write these out, and like it was a very punk rock non professional thing we were trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it it's always like, I'm super like, I'm a super like arts and craftsy type, so like, even like my band's like first thing, like it would be, you know, um I if like we're just dubbing the tapes ourselves, but I got to make like the whole thing with the fold out and everything like this, cuz I was always like, you know, that was my whole thing, and still is to this day. But
You see, I wish I had been like that back then. I'm definitely like that now. But yeah, back then it was more of a just, I just want to play this music and get it out to people. It wasn't really a thought back then of like aesthetic. What were we going for aesthetically or like anything like that? It was just like, we just want to play music loud and to whoever wants to hear it.
yeah, I filled in for bass with this one band one time at this show, and they just had, like, and this was, this was grown adults, and this is not that long ago, but long enough. It's not 2006, but it's, not 2020s either. But and they just had like the demos on. They had them on CDRs, and just right on the spindles, and they just sat it at the front of the stage, and they were just like, take one if you want one. And it was painful to me at that time. Like, it was
Yeah,
painful to witness, just because like I was already well in my, like, I was making tape cases out of like, cardboard from the trash and stuff, like, so
right.
it was
It was like,
painful
oh,
for me. I was like,
just put some
oh,
more thought into it. I
if
get it. Yeah.
yeah, if I was part of this, that would not be happening, believe me. But yeah, I don't know. And now, like, I kind of wish I was more the other way, because like I can't even, like like I can't even just like make a normal cassette anymore. Like, I'm like, well, how do I make this completely special or something? And I'm like, no, I need to course correct, because I'm gonna run out of ideas, or I'm just so far behind on creating these different things. And yeah, I don't know. It's fun, but sometimes I'm like, I should just make a normal thing for once. But yeah, like, that's like a such a special, like, time. I feel like, when you're, like you said, you go in there and you're like not prepared, and maybe, I mean, you're prepared, like, as far as like, you knew the songs, and you said like the band was really tight, but you're going into an entirely new experience, is what I meant. And so,
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know and then you're like, I did it. It's like, I love that era for like every person that like makes music. You know, it's wonderful.
Oh, everything's so new. It's like it's hard not to be excited.
Yeah, and you're just, I mean, I'm sure there are some people where they get into that situation and it's like, you know what, this shit ain't for me, you know, and that sucks. But
Yeah.
we wouldn't be having this conversation if that was the case, you know.
Oh
But
yeah, very much so.
yeah. So like you kind of just like you keep you keep playing, you know, more or less with like, you know, the same group of friends and stuff, and then you end up here. Like scenario, y'all released your first thing in 2021. How did this particular project sort of start? Like what like I'm assuming that you and Jordan weren't doing another project like concurrently, so it was just like you all just are like, let's start something that's kind of like this, and so it was. Or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was kind of like that. It's funny. Between Some Came Running, that metalcore band that we were in together, and the initial formation of Scenario, it was. I mean, I wasn't even into the aggressive music scene anymore. I actually worked with like a lot of rappers and ran a studio for like probably like close to 10 years or something like that. And when we decided to start the band, it was actually me and Mike. Yeah, I think it initially started right before like the pandemic hit. I think it was like even maybe late of the year before that. I was like, man, I at that point I had stopped doing the hip hop stuff, and I was like, man, I want to do something musically, but I don't really know what. But I had been like listening to a lot of like Touche Amore and kind of stuff like that. And I was like, you know, I want to start a band again, but I've been so out of the loop forever. I was like, who do I start a band with? And my first thought was Mike, who played bass in Some Came Running. And I was like, hey, you want to like maybe get together and you know trying to figure out what we could do. I want to play again. And so we did that. And then the natural first step for us was, you know, who would also be awesome in this band? Jordan. Let's call Jordan and see if he wants to do something. And so that's what we did. And we tried to. I think we tried out a couple different drummers at the very beginning. We weren't sure exactly what we were going to do about vocals in the very beginning, but it all kind of just fell in place with that initial first lineup that's on the EP. Because Jordan had been playing with Nick in a couple different things over the years, so he kind of it kind of felt natural for him to be involved. And yeah, that was probably the middle of 2020 or so when we were like, okay, like I think what we really initially set out to do was, I even kind of remember like having the conversation of like, let's do a screamo band, whatever that means. But that was kind of like the initial thought of it. And I was like listening to a bunch of stuff like Innards and Shotmaker and just different stuff like that. But then also like old Breather Resist and, you know, the old Converge stuff. So it was kind of like just an amalgamation of that kind of stuff. And it kind of ended up being what it was. Like, me and Jordan have figured out over the years that me and him just kind of, when we play together, it just kind of ends up being a certain thing. It's kind of, I don't know, we've always just been able to really bounce off of each other very easily and kind of just create a sound. So it was super easy first starting off writing that first record.
you say bounce off, and that really is like an accurate description of what I think it sounds like listening to y'all, because there's a particular amount of um like there's a lot of like transitions happening, and not just like in like, oh, this part with a backbeat is changing into this other part with a backbeat, which like does happen, it's music. But like there's a lot of like, you know you could I wasn't I do like to pay attention a lot to like what is happening in which speaker, like as far as the guitars go, but I can't say that I was doing that today when I was like listening to the album again for the first time in a while. And
Yeah.
and it's like you could very much imagine that, like, you come in with this part, and you two sort of play this part, and then the other person says, after that we should do this, and you almost like together like decide, well, how should we go from this to this? And there's lots of interesting sort of like, stops and starts where like
Yeah.
it's like the one guitar will just hit a note that rings out, and the other one is transitioning into the next part, and then everybody goes to the next part. And it's seems to be a lot of that, with like that's like evident in your band's like style and process of like arrangement and stuff. And how like is that how songs are written? Is it sort of like everybody's bringing like, and then this and then this and then this, or is this just like, no, we both just kind of write that way, and then when we get together it just, it just happens? Or
I'd say it's a little bit of both. With that first record, I could say like, and I don't think Jordan would disagree with me here. I'd say a lot of that kind of the guitar work playing off of each other like that. I think a lot of that comes from us being really influenced by Boys Night Out. And even though they had only technically one guitarist, all the recordings, like, they're multiple tracks, and I think a lot of that maybe subconsciously comes from that. Like when you were describing that, that was like instantly what I thought of in my head was like those first couple Boys Night Out records that we love so much. It was like, yeah, that is kind of what they do with that stuff as well. So maybe that's where it comes from. But I think a lot of it comes from, I mean, we were playing together when we were kids. So, I mean, we kind of, we just, it's not, I wouldn't even say we can like read each other's minds, but it's like when one of us plays something, the other one can already hear what we're going to be playing with it.
yeah.
So it just kind of flows out naturally that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But is that like, what does is there a typical like, this is the way that our songs come together? Like, is does someone bring like a more or less like, hey, this is the bones to like a song I've been working on? Or is it a lot of
Uh,
like, yes, and as far as like, I'll show you a part and then we'll take it from there?
no, well, that first record was very much just kind of like, just kind of throwing shit at the wall, and I mean, what sticks sticks. I don't think anyone really. I think, well, I take that back. Because Crossroads off the first record was an idea that I had come up with that we built off of. But as far as the songwriting process for that record, I mean, I kind of remember it just kind of, like, just kind of throwing darts at the board.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really any like, hey, this is the direction for this. Let's see what we can do with it. It was just like, it is what it is kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Is is this like, is this a process that you all seemed like, once it gets going, does it happen pretty quickly? Or like, is there a lot of like revision and things like that, like along the way, to where it's like you might just be doing this, and then it's like, you know, 3 months later, it's like, oh wait, like this part right here, like I think I finally got it. Like how do you decide like, okay, yeah, now we know what's up?
I think for the most part, I think when things change, they're usually pretty minute details. I think usually the initial song and the structure are kind of uh, come up with in that initial session, and then things just kind of get tweaked from there. But it's usually no big changes. I do remember Knavery on that first record was I still have an old demo to it on my phone. It was a lot more like kind of like doomy when we first wrote it. Uh, and then it kind of turned into something else a little bit farther down the line. But I think everything else kind of I mean, when we feel good about the way a song is going, it's usually a pretty good sign that we're all going to be happy, and we don't really need to like really revamp anything. It's kind of just see where things fall and see how we feel about it at the end of that day. And then like, I mean, there's definitely times where I would we'd write a song, and then maybe a couple weeks later, a month later, or something like that, it would kind of click in my head like, oh no, this is what I should be playing for this part and that kind of thing. But I think initially it's just kind of like a gut feeling between us.
Yeah, sure. Um, Now, before started talking, just when we like were setting all this up the other day, you said that you're getting ready to start recording for something, or like you're almost ready. What's that gonna be? And like, how long have you been sort of like working to get started on this?
So the new record, right now we're booked. We have studio time booked in June. Uh, we started writing about halfway through last year, just kind of like figuring out things in between rehearsing for shows. And like I just came back to the band. Uh, I guess it was just over a year ago. Uh, I'm actually not even on when all is said and done. That
Oh,
was
okay.
when Mike had switched from bass and vocals to guitar and vocals. Uh, I had some pretty crazy personal life stuff going on, so I'm actually not even on that record. But since I've been back, he ended up leaving. Me and him have had a lot of different conversations about the kind of stuff, but he he just wasn't really enjoying being in a band anymore and like all the stuff that comes with it.
Sure.
And I had actually just gotten clean, and I remember Jordan called me up and was like, "Hey, so Mike's not in the band anymore. Do you want to come do this?" And it was like, "Oh shit!" Like it wasn't really anything that was on my radar. I was still, like I said, I had just gotten clean. I was still trying to get my life figured out and everything. But it was like, yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't I want to do that? So I joined the band, and we started rehearsing, playing like the old songs again. It was like a pretty wild experience. And then learning Mike's parts that he played on the second record. And that was funny too, because Mike's like never been a guitarist as like his main thing. He's always been more of a bass player.
Hmm.
But I think just from being around me and Jordan for so long and the way that we play, when I went back to like learn those songs off of when all is said and done, there was a lot of times where I was like, "Oh, that's exactly what I would have played there." Like it
Yeah.
was a pretty like trippy thing to like hear myself and what he was doing, which was really cool. And I don't think he would have any problem with me saying that. Like I said, we played together for so long, and I think it just makes a lot of sense that like doing the same kind of stuff came naturally. Uh, but yeah, so I came back to the band. We started playing shows again, and it was like, okay, like we're gonna keep doing this. So we started writing songs about midway through last year, playing shows, in between, not doing a whole lot with the writing process, but uh, late last year, my wife found out she was pregnant. So uh, I kind of started planning ahead of like, okay, so from like basically from the a couple months before my daughter's supposed to be born, like I'm gonna chill out on the playing shows kind of thing, and I'm gonna use that time to like sit down and really like concentrate on like bringing some solid ideas and like direction to this next record, and that's what I did. And it's funny because Bill, our bass player, actually not long after my wife found out she was pregnant, his wife found out she was pregnant. So my daughter was born in January, and then his daughter, or no, his son is due to be born, I think, in see, the end of April. So like we were both kind of like, okay, well, let's kind of relax for a second and kind of get this music sorted out so that when this stuff kind of settles, then we have something to really, propel us forward and get into the recording process and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been kind of a long time coming, I guess, if you could want to call a year coming, like a year, a long time. But it's also been like 3 years since When All Is Said and Done came out.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, I mean, if we're gonna do something, let's do it. You know, what I mean, it's been 3 years. Let's, I mean, at that point, you kind of get. It's like I want to play. I want to have new music to play. I have stuff that I want to say on records. I have new feelings that I want to convey on a new record. It's kind of, just it felt like, let's do this, and it felt like it was time.
Yeah. How many songs are you looking to do?
Uh, so I think we had 3 songs that we kind of have initially set out that we started last year, and then since I've been taking the time off with the baby and everything, I think we're up to like, I don't know, 8 or 9. I think is what we're going to cap out at. Jordan's had this thing set in his head where he really wants to do like a 10-inch, and I think what's like 10-inch like can fit like 21 minutes on it. I think is what it is.
Yeah, something
Uh,
like that.
so I'm not sure exactly if we're gonna do a 10-inch per se, but it's gonna be around that kind of time span. We're thinking about 20 minutes ish, kind of something. We've been really trying to like, I think, focus on energy in the writing and kind of not drawing things out too much, kind of like being more to the point. Uh, we didn't really want to do like any kind of filler tracks or like interlude-ish kind of stuff like that. It was kind of just like we wanted to like really just drive you the whole time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 10 inch is my favorite format, but also like people don't buy them. So,
Right.
so like,
Yeah. And, and
uh,
and they're apparently like more expensive to make too.
well, I've found where I've had them done, they've been the same price, and it's like,
Oh, okay.
so like, but you certainly could, pay more for them. Like if somebody's like, oh, we have, like if they don't have a specific thing and they're like, we have to custom cut these, then yeah, you could pay more for them. I'm not
Right.
sure, but
Right.
I know that some plants just don't even do them. Like, uh, Got a Groove doesn't even do them. So like, and that's one of the. I mean, I'm sure everybody's using all kinds of plants now, but that's like one of the plants that everybody was like, this is the best plant. Like we should only use this
Right.
plant. And it's like, yeah, they don't even do them. So, but yeah, it's so weird too because like you could be like, no, this is an LP. This is our LP. But like we,
Right.
we just put it on a 10 inch because we wanted to do a 10 inch, and it's
Right.
like
Exactly.
we did one of our LPs on an 11 inch, and it's like it's like this is our LP, and people are like, "What's this?" And like
Yeah. I
yeah,
bet
I don't
that's
know.
been
It's
for a
like,
loop. Yeah.
look, it's like 1 inch. Like we just wanted to do something cool, but people are like, that's kind of weird. Like um, I don't like. I kind of get it in a way, like because some people just like the like with their collections, like they like the the conformity of like the certain sizes and the certain shapes and stuff, and so
Yeah, yeah.
because I've even
It's the
had people,
familiarity.
yeah, I've had people complain because a tape I made wasn't in a standard shell, like, oh, well, I don't have nothing to do, like, I don't have nothing to, no way to store this without it being awkward. And like, I'm like, well, that's the thing though, right? Like, we're
Right.
like,
That's kind of what you were going for.
you want to make something that says this, I made this, this didn't
Right.
come from the factory or whatever, but I mean, there's room for both of those things is my point. But yeah, no, 10 inches, I love them. They're my favorite. Like one of, two of my favorite screamo albums, the Reversal Man Revolution Summer 10 inch, and the Swarm Parasitic Skies 10 inch, and do not forget the Quadrilacha 10 inch is also an amazing piece of work. And then the gold standard, the Who Calls So Loud double 10 inch. I mean, that is the gold standard for packaging, just hands down. Is incredible. And I had to sell mine because I am so
Oh
fucking
man,
poor. But anyway,
I
besides the
get it.
point. Yeah. So yeah, are you going to record? I mean, I noticed that y'all's last two releases were recorded at the same place by the same person, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you
It's
going
been
back
all with
there?
John at the lodge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
No.
think that is what we're gonna go with. I think for the first for the next album, because I think it's kind of like a weird thing, and we've been talking a lot about like different options that we have, but it's like really where we're at in the Cincinnati area. It's like you can't really beat what he's doing, and also the prices that he's charging them. It's like I've looked around at a lot of different stuff, and it's either like astronomically more than we can really afford to put out with four guys with kids and everything like that,
Uh huh.
or it's just like you don't want to go backwards in quality either from the last two records. So it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it's where we're gonna get our best results, and it's a crazy place too. It's an old Masonic lodge that
Oh
they
wow.
turned into a studio, and it's funny because like we record, like we do all this stuff live in the big room, which is like I don't even know what you would call that in the Masonic lodge, but like the main temple area or whatever you want to call it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like do all the live tracks there, and then there's like the recording booth is you go up these stairs and it kind of like faces out and like kind of this what do you call a the word is escaping me now, uh but it like it looks out over on top of that live room, and then the guy that owns the place is, I guess, pretty good friends with Jack White, and Jack White in his spare time uh, upholsters furniture, if you didn't know, and yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
there's a like a pew, like a bench in that building that Jack White upholstered, but that is also a guitar amp at the same time, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever come across. But I remember recording when we first went there to record the first album. I remember we had like this long running joke of like, and it's also an amp, because we just thought it was so funny that like there was just a chair, but it was also a guitar amp. So we just decided that it was like this long running gag of like, hey, this thing? It's also an amp.
So, like you say pew is like a church pew, like a small.
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's upholstered, and you say amp, and so is it with like the speakers built into the pew and all of that, or is it just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah?
It's all one unit. Yeah, it's wild.
Okay. Did you play through it?
Yeah, a little bit. It sounded cool. It was like it
Were
was an
you
interesting
sitting on
sound.
it while you were playing through it?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that um not like, not to be like weird. I don't mean this in like a, like, was it like, I don't mean like was this like sexual or anything, but like, it wasn't that. Was it just weird sitting on it and playing it, or is it just like it's whatever?
I mean, like sensory wise, I mean, I don't think it was any weirder than like sitting on a guitar cab while you're
Okay.
playing or anything like that. But like the sensation of like I'm sitting on a chair that is producing sound was kind of strange.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
That's. I mean, because I can't say I've ever sat on an amp or anything. So that's why I'm just like, I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be any different than I don't know, like riding a motorcycle or something. Anything there's just like a kind of a weird, like
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
vibration or
Yeah,
whatever. But like I don't know, like um, I can't say that I've ever been in that instance, and I have a like I'm not like overly sensitive to different things, but I just that idea like just kind of I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." Like I would be like, "Oh, I don't like this," but I would do it because like I can't I'm also that type of person. Like I've got to like oh, I've
yeah,
got
you
to
got to see
try
what you
this.
know.
That'd be
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I got to know what that's like. You're sitting on an amp. But yeah, that's wild, and I am always fascinated by you see something on an Instagram reel or something where it's like somebody made a bicycle that's also an electric guitar and an amp built into it, and I'm like, oh
right.
fuck
It's
yeah,
exactly like that. Yeah,
yeah. So like I'm always fascinated by like it's like, oh, this is this thing but it's also this thing, and I'm like, holy shit, like what do we
yeah,
what's next? But yeah, it sounds like y'all are uh, getting ready to go back and make some more cool stuff happen. Do you have any? Like you said, you were laying off the shows and everything like that, and so really like this record is the next thing that you've got coming. But like, do you have any one-off shows or anything like that? Anything that's happening like in the meantime that you want to throw out there and let people know about, or?
yeah. We've got a few things planned. We tried to kind of keep it sparse leading up to recording just to give ourselves the time for
Yeah.
writing and everything like that. Especially with, I mean, we all got hella kids. Like I think we have 13, about to be 14 kids between the four of us.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like, so our schedules get pretty hectic, and sometimes it's hard to get everyone lined up together.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure we gave ourselves enough time to really be able to get everyone together and figure out and get everything solid before we head into the studio. But yeah, we have some cool stuff coming up. Trying to think what the first thing is. I think we have something that just some local stuff that hasn't been announced yet, but our friends in the band Nice Device are doing a residency at a venue over here, and we're playing one of those with them. Also, funny enough, they're like a two piece, and the bassist vocalist also came from the same kind of ska punk scene I came from, so that's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
But so we have that. In June, we are playing Indianapolis at Pout Fest, which is put on by Pout Records, which is a cool project that's coming out of Indianapolis. Girl named Haley started a label, and
I
it's
know
kind of just
Haley.
been
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. So she's been doing like really cool DIY stuff. So we're playing that with like Eyelets on that, Lock Tender, uh, a lot of really fun bands, and we're pretty excited to do that.
We
And
were
then
we were almost well we were almost in a band together once. We had one practice and we wrote a couple songs and I thought they were cool. Uh, we were tentatively called Books on Tape. It was me and Haley and two people from the band Marital Roles, and
oh, okay,
we had one practice, and then it was like it was just like we wrote a couple songs. I have like instrumental recordings of them, and Haley was just like screaming along and sort of jotting stuff down, and we were like, yeah, we should do this again, and then like we never did it again.
Yeah, that's how.
It
It's
wasn't
funny how
Haley's
bands
fault. Like,
end up like that
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. It's like, it's always like whoever has the car, and it's like, I don't want to. It's an hour up there. I don't want to do that today. You know?
Oh yeah, especially if you're separated by any kind of distance,
Yeah,
like it gets
yeah,
hard.
yeah. But yeah, that's that. I did see something about that fest, and it looked cool. So yeah, that ought to be a good time. Indianapolis is really doing like awesome things right now. Um,
Yeah, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff up there. I've actually never played up there personally, so it's going to be a fun little excursion as my first time playing Indianapolis with especially with, like I said, with Islet and Locktender, like two bands I am big fans of. So that I'm pretty excited to do that. And then
Yeah.
we're also hosting Islet back in Cincinnati. I think the week after that.
And that was my conversation with Ben from Scenario. Thank you so much, Ben, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all of y'all for listening wherever you are as well. Don't forget to stop by patreon.com/humanmachine to check out what we've got going on over there as well. Until next time, take care and do good things.